Viral pneumonia has hit central China's Wuhan city.
They don't know how it spreads, only that it can pass
China ordering a quarantine for the entire city of Wuhan.
I'm declaring a public health emergency of international...
Experts are warning it's likely to become a pandemic. There are at least 11 confirmed cases in the US.
Coronavirus, SARS, H1N1, MERS. Every time a severe new variant of the flu emerges, we're reminded of how quickly a deadly disease can become a global threat, or a pandemic. What is a flu pandemic? According to the WHO, it's a new virus that spreads around the world, one against which most people don't have immunity. And to understand what a mass casualty pandemic might look like, health experts point to a stark warning from history.
I had a little bird. Its name was Enza. I opened the window and influenza.
At the end of the First World War, a flu swept the globe like a medieval plague. The death toll was inconceivable. Dubbed the Spanish flu, this pandemic killed 50 to 100 million people. That's more than the total number of deaths from the terrors of the Great War, and more than the number of people killed in the first few decades of HIV.
It's said that some people drowned in their own phlegm. So if it was hitting or affecting the lungs, people were spurting blood from their ears and their noses. Descriptions of people turning blue or purple, and people just dropping down in the streets.
And in 1918, there were only about 1.8 billion people on Earth. We're now at around 7.8 billion, and we're traveling a whole lot more, raising the risk of spreading disease.
I want to emphasize the certainty that a pandemic will occur. We just do not know when.
The World Economic Forum puts the spread of infectious disease up there with terrorist attacks.
When an outbreak hits, appropriate responses may be absent or delayed, and resources will be stretched. A pattern of panic and neglect tends to affect pandemic preparedness.
And in its most recent report into global health risks, the WHO concludes that
current efforts in dealing with an outbreak remain grossly insufficient.
Blind spots in our preparedness in dealing with another devastating pandemic were made clear in a simulation hosted by the Johns Hopkins Center for Health Security and the Gates Foundation.
It began in healthy-looking pigs, months, perhaps years ago.
Public health agencies have issued travel advisories, while some countries have banned travel from the worst affected areas.
In this 3.5-hour simulation called Event 201, a fictional pandemic infected people all around the world within 6 months. It eventually killed an imaginary 65 million people and triggered a global financial crisis.
If we go down to 20% bookings over a long period, the company will run down. That's a fact.
You know, there's a whole complex set of issues in a highly interdependent world.
It's really a war footing that we need to be on.
There is concise communication with all healthcare facilities where these patients are being treated so that there isn't mass panic.
Now, this exercise took place just 3 months before the coronavirus outbreak. Organisers have been at pains to note that this was not a prediction, but the scenario does paint a picture of the challenges we're faced with in the wake of a pandemic.
We have to ask, did this need to be so bad?